Thank you.
Yes, Dana.
Hey everybody, welcome to He Say She Say Singles Chat. It's Wednesday. Woo!
Here.
I'm too lit. Okay, all right, we'll go. That's fine.
We
It's
here.
Wednesday, and it is time for our daily conversation. I am Jen, and I'm going to let my wonderful co-host go ahead and introduce themselves.
I'm
Hello,
Shonda.
everyone.
Thanks for tuning
Okay,
in.
go ahead, Shonda. You got it.
I'm Shonda. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
I'm Dana.
I'm Elisha.
Then next time we're just gonna have to go around the room and introduce
Right? I just okay. I mean, and that's Lawrence because y'all really tried me just
Thank you.
now.
Hello.
Like
Hello.
we going on a whole year of every week, and y'all try to act like y'all don't know what's up. So we just want to say, this is the He Say She Say Singles Chat. We want to give a huge shout out to our founder and visionary, the Elder Mark Moore Jr., who gives us
Yes.
this opportunity every week to talk about the things, all things singleness, all things whatever's on our heart, relationships, and of course, being biblically sound. So we're going to go take a few moments and go ahead and share. Hey, y'all, we see y'all in the comments. Hey, Chloe. We see y'all in the comments. Go ahead. We're going to share. Let them know tonight's talk is going to be
Yeah. Hey, Bruce. Hey,
super
Elizabeth.
dope.
I got a
We're going to
question
take.
while everybody's sharing.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So y'all know I
Yes.
missed y'all last week, right?
Did you miss us?
I
Did you
did.
miss us?
I did.
Miss
Did you?
I was so sad that I couldn't join. But I just heard it. Things got crazy last week. What happened?
What you mean things got
God,
crazy?
crazy.
I heard. I mean, not crazy in a bad way. I just heard it was a. It
We
was a.
saved. I'm like, what you talking about? Crazy. Crazy. We are
I ain't
Jesus
talking about
people,
nothing
bro.
wild. I'm just saying. I heard things got interesting last week.
I mean, we just
interesting. They're
we
always
just tr-
interesting
I feel
though.
like it's interesting every week.
This is true. This is true.
Elisha was like he was trying to drown it a little bit because we pumped that man. It's like, no, we didn't. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We were nice. He held his own.
He
All right.
did.
So at this point, you guys are y'all sharing? Are y'all sharing? Are y'all sharing? Because this is gonna be good. This is gonna be
Yeah.
super good. Are y'all sharing? Are y'all sharing? Okay, everybody sharing. So we're gonna go ahead and get with the conversation because I want to go ahead and start. So first, this week's conversation is about the difference between preferences versus standards in the godly dating community, or just what you desire, what you will accept, and things like that. So tell me, what is the difference for you between um dating between preferences and standards? Is it a difference? Like, do you have a set of preferences? Do you have a set of standards? Tell me what y'all feel about that.
Who wants to take this one
Okay,
first?
all right.
No, so okay, I guess I'll go. So for me, I think one can be both, but one cannot. And what I mean by that is your standards can also be a preference, but it doesn't necessarily mean that just because it's a preference, it's a standard, right? I attach
Mhm.
standards to like some sort of moral ethic or something that is a standard of living, or
Mhm.
I mean, even some things that you might call a standard might be a preference for somebody else. So for me, right, I have
Mhm.
a standard not just of my faith. That's not just a standard, but I also have
Mhm.
a standard of hygiene, right? Like there's certain
Mm.
standards that I live by and that people who kind of walk with me through life also kind of have to live by because we are representations one to another. And I think that's extremely important. So if I walk and move through life in the world a certain way with a certain
Mhm.
standard, I
Mhm.
think it's important that whoever you're with, and when you're collecting data on a person and dating, it's
Mhm.
important that you see whether or not they hold that same standard, right? But then there are other things that you would
Mhm.
call just a preference. That's just what I like or what I don't like.
Mhm. Mhm.
Standards are things that I can't live without. Preferences are things that you could probably or maybe convince me to live without. Some things I just like, right? And just because you don't have what I like doesn't mean that I don't like you. But there's certain standards that I cannot live without and that I will not live without. Right. So that for me, that's the difference. If I can live without it, then it's a preference, and maybe I will, maybe I won't. That's a choice I get to make. But the standard, that's something that I won't compromise on. That makes sense?
Oh, yeah, it makes sense. Anybody else? Or are we kind of going with that? Which y'all think?
I definitely think that there are preferences and standards. And I think sometimes we try to categorize our preferences solely as like physical things, you know. But, and I was kind of with you, Lawrence, when you said, you know, your preferences and standards can kind of be one and the same, because there are certain things that you do prefer, but then they end up being your standard of what you desire in a relationship. For me, when I typically think of standards, I typically think of more emotional, spiritual, those kind of things. There's some things that I just will not compromise on. I think Aaron Harris put it in the comments. It was like the negotiables versus the non-negotiables. There are some things in a relationship that I absolutely will never deal with. Like, you will never, ever hit me ever in life and live to tell the story. But then, you know, will he be 6'4" and chocolatey? Please, Jesus. Will he not? Okay, we'll see.
6'4" and chocolatey. Someone's taking notes.
Anyone else?
Taking notes.
Anyone else? Or we kind of agree with that?
Yeah, I think that about sums it up.
Oh, okay.
So I saw a comment come through. I'm pretty sure it was from a LaWanda Thomas that said that sometimes preferences outweigh standards. Do y'all agree with that?
Not for me. Not for me.
No, I think standards are something that people just do not compromise on. Well, but then there are cases where, like, I have a guy friend who, like, insists that all of his, you know, women be, you know, that Coke bottle, you know, 24, 36, 36, 24, 36. What is it? 30, yeah. You know, so he insists on that. And for him, his preference is his standard, as Lawrence was saying. You know, that's just what he likes, and he won't date anybody outside of that scope. Is he missing out on the person God has for him? Who's to say? Because where do those desires come from?
Yeah.
I think so. To LaWanda's point, I think that sometimes, if we're honest, it does, or it has come before, like, because we have a desire of something, and if we're honest, in the past we may have exchanged or compromised that preference and kind of tucked that standard of a thing in the back, because he in my case, he was the picture perfect situation that I wanted, but his faith was trash, or like he, you know, or you know, he was of a different belief. If you know me and follow me, you know that I love well, I don't want to say I love, I want to make sure I frame this right. I think that Muslim men are very attractive. They have a little something
It's the
on
discipline.
them.
That's what you like.
And I remember for like
Like,
they got someone.
can we pause and take a Polaroid of Elisha's face right now?
What?
I'm being honest. I don't come here every week to play games. I'm being honest.
I understand what you mean, Jen.
I mean, as far as like they have a thing. They have a thing on them. And I remember for 35 seconds, I thought that I could date a Muslim man, and I was Christian, and it was, you know, it tried to be a thing for like a week, and it just didn't work. But so I will say, like, if we're honest, those things that are preferences, you know, in the past, or even now, if you know, some of y'all a little raggedy, it may be an exchange for what we want versus what we know we're supposed to have, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Elisha, you look real tight. You okay? What's up? You're offended? What's up?
He's like, whatever.
You mad at me? We family. What's up?
I'm not mad at all. I'm not mad at all.
Cause you
I'm
giving me the steak
confused.
face right now, and I'm just here trying to tell my truth. I'm just here to tell the story. Like,
Oh yeah, this is a safe space. We deemed it as such.
I thought so. I was just making sure. I was just making sure. You know, Dr. Chandra's here. My friends are here. I was just making sure. So yeah, someone put in the comments negotiables versus non-negotiables. Jazz, you feel me. You know me. We're sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good place to put it. Like Dana said, 6'4". I don't we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. But she has a preference, and I think we all have a preference. But I do believe that if you are a believer, since this is, you know, we're Christians, we're believers here, that your standards should not waver. And your standards for
Right,
me are the things that I just at this point in the game, I can't back down off
right,
of. I can't back down
right.
off of.
I know
I
I've
feel
been
like
saying too long to try to date somebody who's an unbeliever or to try to date somebody who's newly saved. So, that's a standard. Would I prefer something different? Sure. But, there, like you said, especially when it comes to faith and from what I have learned about, what it really means to be equally yoked and all those types of things, like there are just
Mm,
some things that you can't, um, take into a relationship expecting them to change or compromise on.
mm,
yeah. I feel
mm,
like it's a sliding scale where there's a certain point at which your preferences start to reach standards for you, and that's fine. So for me, I think there was a comment that came up from an L Pretty that kind of summed it up for me in terms of like preferences being amenable and your standards like not. So for me, the way that I would say that, because I like alliteration, I would say that for me, my preferences are bendable, but my standards are unbreakable. Like that, those things I
that's
cannot
good.
compromise on. The
Yeah.
preferences, we can bend it a
My
little
God.
bit. It's still my preference, but maybe instead of 6'4", maybe if he's 6'3", it's not a problem, right? Like for Dana, that's
Sure. Just
definitely not for me. That's
it's
for
funny.
Dana.
It's funny because I have that. That's like my prayer. Because can I be honest? I am so scared that God is going to make me marry a troll just to prove that He's God and I can marry anybody and He can make me happy. And I'm like, Jesus, I already know you're God. So please don't try to prove that you're God in that area. Please let me have what I want, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
is funny,
And
and he'll
listen,
do
this
it
is
too.
why I say that because I have
Mm-hmm.
a couple of girlfriends who have been married for a long time, and the man that they ended up marrying, it wasn't their original preference. It wasn't their choice. But when they began
Mm-hmm.
to look at the qualities that they had, and one of my girlfriends always said, I want to marry my best friend. I want to be this. I want to be that. I want to be that. And then when she
Mm-hmm.
looked at her husband, he wasn't her physical preference or he wasn't her, you know, her typical, the guy that she would normally date, but he was everything on that list that she was presenting to the Lord. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
So let's go there. First, I want to stop and pause and say thank you to all of our weekly followers. Like we see some of the same names, and we love you. We thank you for just being in the conversation. And we definitely appreciate you in the conversation in the comments. So let's go there, right? So at our YLC mixer, we kind of talked about this in February about the list, right? So if you have a list of preferences, and just like Dana says, she doesn't want the Lord to give her I'm not gonna call him a troll, I'm gonna say like maybe a shorter man. We're gonna go with that. Is that is that okay? Like Corey, don't lose that question. I'm gonna come back to that. Is that okay to have a list?
I think it's okay to have a list. But,
Mm,
and this is what I will tell you, that my list has changed over time. And,
mm,
when I was younger, I wanted more superficial things. But, as you live life, you recognize that, everybody goes through changes. And I just ultimately, my list is more, when I look at the list that I pray for my husband, It's more, I want him to be a man of good character. And
Mm-hmm.
then Jesus, please, can he be 6'4" and chocolatey too?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the thing that I pray for, what I spend the most time on is what his character looks like, what he looks like as a leader, as a provider, as a human being. You know, is he going to be a good guy? Does he, you know, all of those things. I want him to be honest. I want him to be, you know, faithful. So when it comes to those, I can't even keep my train of thoughts because these comments are cracking me up. But you know,
Oh my
then
goodness.
I also go to my quote unquote list of preferences. But I think the distinction is that I know the difference between what is a standard that has value to it as opposed to what's just me being superficial, what's just me being fleshy, what's just me, you know, like that would be icing on the cake if he is. But you know, what I found is that, yeah, you know, it's great if he has a six-pack and muscles and all those other things, but if he's gonna be carrying that six-pack and muscles to every person around the corner, then I don't need no six-pack and muscles. You know what I mean? But if he has that list of he's got good character and all that wonderful everything, and he happens to be super fine. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord.
Dr. Shonda, I want to hear from you. Tell me what you think.
I feel like I probably share the same sentiments as Brother Aaron Harris, who said, I'm a tither, so God has to bless me. Listen, we serve a God. I firmly believe that my God is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Lord, you see me down here working for you. So you can give me the standard and the preference. I can have the man in the prayer closet as well as the one who's 6'4" with a full beard. Like, I know it can happen, and that's the type of faith that I have. So
Elisha, I would just like to say, brother to brother, this is just me and you talking at this point. I think we're gonna have to figure out this height thing because 6'4" seems to be the number, and I am not close, my brother. We got to figure this out.
6'4", you know, I dropped it in the comment spacing. You know, there's a lot being said about trolls, but you know, I see a lot of folks with some trolls, but that's neither here nor there. And 6'4". 6'4" really sounds the only person I believe saying anything about 6'4" in this live is Shonda, because she already don't talk to nobody. So that's the only person I believe would really hold that 6'4" requirement. That's the only person. Everybody else on here, I feel like 5'10" is going to be okay. 5'8" is going to be okay.
5'10". You have to be taller than me when I have heels on. So
why would you ever try to speak
6'2" to 6'4"?
You're the exception. I don't count you in that. I'm just speaking for everyone else. I don't count you in that.
You can't speak for me.
Height is perfect. I think we're good. Like, we're good, bro. Let me
how you gonna speak for me?
What'd you say?
I said, how you gonna speak for me? But that's just
well. I mean, hey, listen.
I wasn't speaking for anybody. I was giving my opinion. That was just my opinion. I feel like if you get a man of God with a full beard at 5'8", you might be content. That's just how I feel. I think that's my opinion.
And that's
just my opinion.
And that's true. I mean, you know,
see,
like I said, those are things that are just it's a preference. Is it mandatory? If I see somebody who's 6 feet tall, am I going to not talk to him? No. If I see somebody who's 5'9", am I going to am I going to automatically pass you up? But yeah, any shorter than that, no.
I'm actually fronting a little bit because I'm only 5'3". But go ahead.
I'm only 5'4".
But how tall are you with heels on?
I've seen some things where I just don't appreciate what's going on. I've seen some things, and the man, not even a man of God, he just a security guard. Like Jen was talking about a couple weeks ago. And so I just don't. We get up here with so much energy talking about 6'4". Y'all know that dude y'all talking to right now. Y'all know he all of 5'8" and a half.
You don't even know me. You don't know me. You don't know me. You can't tell me what I'm doing in a late night hour.
I don't even know why we doing this right now. Y'all know he's all of 5'8". Huh?
Anywho, go ahead, Lawrence. Go ahead, Lawrence. Because the last time I get beat up, and right, because I feel like it's a bruised ego or something. But go ahead.
So here's the answer to your question from me. I feel like it is perfectly fine to have those preferences. It's perfectly fine to have physical preferences. It's perfectly fine to have occupational preferences. I don't think there's anything wrong with building that list. I think the thing that we end up getting trapped into is when we don't give God permission to interrupt our list. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, I like this. That's what you like. And I don't think there's anything wrong to say, I like this. And I'm talking to God about what I like. That's probably inappropriate. I shouldn't say that. But in any case, like God
Don't get
knows,
us in trouble. You know the principal be he, and don't tell him where he at. So please don't
right?
get
He
us in trouble.
might pop in here. But there was a joke, right? That where somebody was kind of doing a spoof off of the 23rd Psalm, and he said, "The Lord is my shepherd; He know what I want." Right? Like that's this. He does know what you want, and I think it's fine to acknowledge that. But it's also important that we realize that God can completely interrupt that. And you're sitting there trying to understand how it is that you've been drawn to someone that didn't necessarily fit that list. And that just might be God's interruption of that. And it's okay. You just have to make space for it. I think that's completely fine.
Okay,
Dana,
so let's keep in
Dana,
that vein.
why
Huh?
Dana?
Why
Why?
what?
Y'all see what he just commented?
Why what?
Well, we're gonna keep going. So does it? So somebody put in in the comments. Have you found in your experience that your list has changed? Like, has it, as you get older, were there things that you wanted when you were 20 years old or 25 years old? Shout out to Ken. Let me tell y'all, let me just pause since I think this is what we're giggling about. Jen loves big men. I mean, that we don't, God bless you, as long as God bless you. So we don't discriminate about that. I don't. But did your list change? Like, did your list change as you grew in God, as you grew in age? Like, were the things that you wanted?
It's a bell
I knew
time.
I was in the
Bishop,
comment. I knew what was happening. I knew it. I knew it. I knew
Thank
the principal
you.
was coming.
Thank you.
I could
Oh
sense
my
him coming
God.
down the hallway. Like, it always
Nobody's in
happens.
trouble. Nobody's in trouble. Nobody's in
Oh,
trouble.
I can keep going. Okay. Whew.
I
Hall
just
pass.
let,
So is it
I can let the brothers
we
be.
can't hear you, principal. We can't hear you, principal.
Y'all can't hear me?
The principal is on
I
mute.
can
Y'all
hear
can
you.
hear me?
We can hear you.
that's better.
You can hear me?
Hear me.
Y'all
Jen, you can't hear.
Can you hear me now, Jennifer?
wow. So you deleted okay.
No, I'm saying, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me
I can
still?
hear you.
I
We
can hear
can
you
hear you.
now.
All right, there we go. I was just trying to say that I couldn't let the brothers be outnumbered.
Thank you.
Because y'all are on here. First of all, ain't none of y'all 6'4". So apparently y'all have no hope in the kingdom. That's what they try to tell us.
None.
But I couldn't let y'all be outnumbered. So I just thought I'd come sit in the back of the sanctuary and just watch choir rehearsal tonight. So
I really can't. I
Well,
really
Jen,
can't.
actually, I want to ask this question because do you think
Mhm.
women let their preferences override their standards more than men?
No.
Can we ask that? Or do you think men let their preferences kind of override and rule their choices?
I don't know
I
if
think
it's gender. Go ahead.
go ahead, because you clearly you're the renegade tonight. Go ahead. Because I'm about to catch a flight. Go ahead.
I'm not. I mean, listen. You'll be paying for it. I don't believe in flew out, but
Oh, I didn't ask you to fly me out. Please answer the
that's
question.
the right answer, Elijah. You've grown. You've grown.
Hilarious.
no, I would just say I don't think it's a gender thing. I just think it's situation. I think sometimes we allow what was supposed to be, one date, and then we figured out something, and we're like, okay, this is not what it's supposed to be. But we lingered a little bit too long. Our feelings got involved. Your heart gets involved, and then all of a sudden you're making decisions based off of situation and not based off of what you need. What's the standard for your life? And so I don't. It's men do it more, women do it more. I don't think it's gender bias. I just think it's situation bias. It could be a man just as it could be a woman. It just depends on the situation they find themselves in after allowing kind of the little things to slip through. So I don't know if that's a gender biased question. I don't know if it's fair to say men over women, women over men, when it's really, it's really situation based.
Here's my thought. I'm sorry, Jen. Did I cut you off?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Go ahead, Jen.
No, go ahead, because y'all want to be politically correct. Go ahead, help yourself, because y'all so saved and fake deep
I
tonight.
listen.
Like y'all know, y'all don't be dating these different shapes, and y'all won't give these women of God chances if they are not what you want, what they look like. So if y'all want to play games tonight, I'll play this game with you. Go ahead. God bless you. Go ahead.
Here's my thought on it. In reference to Dana's question, which I think is also going to answer your question, Jen, that you asked right before that. I think once a man gets some standards, it's hard for him he's not readily to lose them, right? I think we may be a little bit slower in gaining standards than maybe our women would be. But once we do, once a man makes up his mind, his mind is made up. And I think that's important. But then the preferences piece, just in response specifically to your question, Dana, not necessarily in my own personal experience, but what I have heard from others is a lot of times women will feel as though they have enough influence to make a man meet her standards, right? Like, I'm gonna change him, or like he can get to here. I mean, even our dear sister wanted all for 35 seconds talk to a Muslim man, right? So there are certain things that
Yeah. Who is this?
What?
oh, you missed that one.
Oh my gosh.
Then do you want to run that back?
Y'all playing a
Y'all-
dangerous game
y'all
tonight,
not
but I'm gonna let y'all
going
have
out
the
like that.
principal that came in and took your little gender cards, and you tried it. But God bless y'all anyhow. Okay, keep going. Go ahead.
That was just a little joke, but I think that happens a lot where people feel like they can change others, and they say like, "Oh, well, I can help them get to that place," and they're constantly working a project to get that person to reach a standard that maybe they just don't have it in them to reach, right? Like, I found somebody that meets all of my little preferences, and now I'm trying to get them to meet my standards. I think that kind of shows us the pecking order that we should be looking at this thing, right? We need to be looking first for the standard and then see like, okay, does this person meet my standard? Right now, the preference is what attracts you, I think, personally, because I'm a visual person.
You don't look at people and see their standards.
Right.
No, right. But there's a certain engagement at a certain level, right? Because we're talking about dating. We ain't talking about marrying nobody. We're talking about dating. There's a time period for me to collect the data to figure out, does this person meet that standard, right? So I think that's important. And once we've identified that, then I think we're in a good place. But that's once you have some standard.
What is that?
Missionary dating is when you try to rescue people. So I'm just going to say that you guys are lying. These men are lying, and they're not telling the truth. And the reality is, I don't care how many fancy words and how much they try to, fake call me out. The reality is, men are more visual. So when it comes to preferences, they see their preferences first, whereas women are, in my opinion, are a little bit more forgiving. They care. Oh, he's so nice. He ugly, but he's so good to me, or he treat me like a queen. Like, let's just be honest. If we're going to be honest, like, I know for a fact that men in the church, my Christian brothers, and I love y'all so much. If she does not look a certain way, I don't care how much substance she got, y'all not talking to her. So if we want to go with these cute answers tonight, we can play that game. But if we want to have a real conversation,
wait. So are we going to sit on here and pretend that the women of God are just out here giving all the deacons a shot and giving all the nice little faithful church brothers a shot? That's what we're gonna sit here and pretend?
No.
That's what we're gonna do?
We're not saying that, but the reality,
parking lot ministry, y'all won't let him take you to Starbucks between services for nothing, because he's not tall enough, or he don't have a nice enough car, or he don't do nothing on program. And I'm not talking about you on the screen, but if we're gonna talk about it, let's talk about it. Y'all gonna sit there and act like y'all just giving every brother that approaches you a chance?
we're not saying that we give every brother a chance, but we're saying that we're probably more likely to go with the brother who does treat you well. He may not be all, he may not be 6'4" and chocolatey like you want, but if he meets some of the other standards and things that
Deacon Odell, and I'm gonna be careful with you, Danny, because we go to the same church, and I almost used the name.
You already know.
I'm gonna just say Deacon Odell, for example.
No, Deacon Odell.
So what you're telling me, Shonda and Jennifer and Dana, for the brothers at your church that are watching this live because they support you faithfully and they encourage everything you do. They're the ones wishing you good mornings. They're the ones commenting on every post. You're telling them right now that they have a chance, no matter if one eye don't open all the way. Huh?
No.
No matter if
I'm going to be honest and say, that I have given someone that I did not like a chance because they were persistent, they were consistent, and they had some great potential qualities. And yes, we dated. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
I will say this too. In between, I had a serious boyfriend between my husbands, and he was not what I ideally thought was attractive. But because of how I felt about him, he became attractive to me. Was he everything on my list?
Let's push pause. Let's push pause. Let's push pause. Because here's what I'm hearing, and we can't confuse the two. Just because you had an incident didn't make it precedent. Just because you did it doesn't mean that that's what you do.
I have a black friend.
Exactly, right? So, and I'm gonna be straight up honest. I think maybe all of us have had an instance where there was somebody who was close to us or that was just around, and that proximity breeded some sort of attraction, and then we figured out later, yo, I really am not attracted to this person. This is not going to work, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But I'm gonna be quite honest with y'all. I got to a point where I made a determination within myself. I made a commitment, a vow, and I said I will not ever in my life again talk to, date, or entertain anyone who wasn't at least at this level aesthetically.
Now, can I stop you right there, Lawrence? Because one, I commend you for that. But here's my problem: the Jennifers of the world, they'll hear that and they'll say, "See, you just stuck on what it looked like. You just stuck on the outside." But then, wait. If you're out here dating and giving these charity dates, then the Jennifers of the world, you know she didn't have a charity. Why you lead her on? So what is a brother to do? Because I agree with you, Lawrence. You said, I'm not going to lead you on. I'm not going to give you false hope. I'm not going to play with your feelings and get you.
We're not giving anybody false hope either.
But what I'm saying is the Jennifers of the world, huh?
What is happening here?
They will condemn a brother for not dating outside of his interest. But if he does, now he just all out here in the streets. Which one is it?
I'm not even condemning you for having your preferences, but I will say that I have seen a lot of people miss what was probably a good thing for them because of their preferences. Like, so, and I get it. We all have our standards. For Lawrence, he set his standard at, a certain attractiveness. Again, my preference is 6'4", but if he's not 6'4", it's okay. I know I'm short. Shut up. Leave me alone.
I was just about to say, Dana, you.
Again,
that's a preference.
I know. I'm sparing you. The Holy Ghost is sparing you, Dana, because I.
Don't do it. Lord.
Okay.
Don't do it.
Okay. Go on.
Again, I'm saying that's a preference. It's just like I prefer chocolate chip cookies. Does that mean I'm going to turn away? I don't know. What other kind of cookies are there?
Macadamia nuts.
No.
If you're allergic to that, yes. Turn that away. And I think that's what we're saying. Y'all can't have it both ways. You can't say.
Yes, we can. We're women and we live by double standards. Duh.
Well, as long as that's clear. I just wanted to establish there's no consistency here. The brothers, if it's a lose-lose. And Jennifer, what you gonna do is you gonna
Don't call my name no more.
down.
Don't call my name no more. Because
Jennifer
now I'm being
Trotter.
abused.
I
This
want
is
you
abuse.
to see what I'm talking about. Jennifer Trotter. What you're not gonna do? What you're not gonna do is act like y'all don't pick based on looks too. That's not fair.
That was not the question.
I didn't ask you what the question was.
That's
You're not
that's
gonna act
why
like.
Shaquavia just said we're talking in circles because we didn't answer
Shaquavia
the
not on
question.
here.
That she is on here.
No, she's not on the screen. I'm talking to you. I'm not
Because
talking
we did not answer the question. And yes, men are the king of double standards.
Did we just
Y'all
go
are really
there?
trying my patience right now. I don't know what I did to get abused, but the Lord is going to get y'all. And the facts say that I am right. So I don't care
Y'all
how
are
you
my
want to come.
business.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley.
No,
Y'all are
I did
visible
not.
too.
That was not the question.
That's
The
not the
question
point.
was not right. Dana said, which one is ruled by preferences more? That's what Dana asked. And then I answered, I said that men are more visual. I am not saying that every woman that's in the dating conversation is saying that they're going to just settle for men that they don't like. No. That's not what happened. That's not what we said. We said that men are more visual.
You look
What?
like this out here, Jennifer, because you're unstable. You look like one heel pro. That's all I'm saying.
In the case of this
So you came here.
conversation,
You
are we
came here to bully me. That's what you
No,
came here to bully me. Is this
here to
what's
speak up
happening?
the truth. I came here to speak up the truth. I'm tired of you beating up on
Wow.
these brothers, Jennifer. I'm tired of you beating up on these brothers.
They can't talk for themselves.
Well, you know, look. Okay, first of all, that's one.
Now you try.
That's one. Let's start there. That's one. All right. Let's not forget how quickly God can rapture you away.
Power.
In the moment, in the twinkling of an eye.
Wow.
No man knows
funny.
the hour. So let's start there.
That's so funny.
Wow.
So
The saints are abusive. God
What's
bless
the next
y'all.
question?
This is my question. When we say preference, are we speaking straight visuals? Because it's one thing to say visual, but preferences, I believe, go way further than just visual. Or am I the only one that?
No, you're right. So
Well, that's what I
before we
said.
got bullied, we were
Why
going to
have
go
we
through the
equated
list.
preference to visual? Say that again.
Yeah.
Who, me? I said before
Yeah.
we got bullied, we were going to go down the list of preferences and talk about them and what we think. But then someone came and bullied us, and then we start talking about different things. So let's
You
just
already on solid one. You want to be on 1.5? Is that what you
now.
want?
Now my
You want
father's
1.5?
here. Now my father's here. Now my father is here. Okay, go ahead. I don't even have to. Y'all can go ahead. Like, cause now I don't even understand. I don't even understand what's happening.
I'm just trying to get clarity.
Let's
What's the
move.
next question, Jennifer? What's the next question?
No, you're snapping. What is happening? Okay,
go.
so there was a
my
question in the
Come on, don't
there
stop.
was a question. There was a question in the comments that said when like, oh, y'all didn't answer that question. As you get older, did your preferences change?
Yes.
Thank you, Tracy. I love you. Thank you for the. I need moral support.
Tracy, don't get fired. You see how your comment said? Don't get fired.
It's like,
Don't get fired.
everybody.
This is an abuse of power.
I want Lawrence to finish what he was saying. Then I want Jennifer to give us the next question. Lawrence, finish what you were saying.
He don't remember.
Yeah, I don't. I'll be quite
Lawrence,
honest.
finish what you were saying. I know it's hard when you're constantly being distracted. Go ahead, Lawrence. I'm not gonna let the bad lady get you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, so Elisha was just saying, like, in terms of the standard, like being more than just like the physical or the attractiveness thing, which completely I agree with. Is much more than that. I think typically when we start talking about preferences, we tend to lean toward that because that's the first preference that we have. That we get to pick. And then I also want to say this too, because I think especially in a religious context, we can try to downplay the importance of the physical or the aesthetic preference, but it's extremely important because there are some things. My brother told me this. He's married. They have an 8-month-old daughter, Avery JL, and I love my little niece. And my brother, we were having a conversation one time, and I was telling him this was a while ago, and I was telling him, bro, like right now, just with where I'm at and with my work and everything right now, I don't even see myself like doing what you're doing right now. And he said something interesting to me, which is why I think which is why partially I made this commitment to myself in my standard of my aesthetic preference. He said, bro, you got to marry somebody that when you look at them, you forget what you was mad about. And when he said that, I was like, man, you got a good point. And I think that there is something to be said about attractiveness. And there's something like when I look at you, there's something that you do to me when I see you. And if you're not attracted to them, they can't do that for you. So I do think that we can somewhat preach that and try to make it into more than what it is. But it is what it is. If you like tall, date and marry tall. If you like thick, date and marry thick. Like, get what you like. Talk to who you like, and be honest with yourself. And don't judge yourself for what you like. Like Jen, she said, I like big guys. All right, you like big guys, then we ain't judging ourselves for liking big guys. We like
Jennifer said what?
Oh, you didn't hear that part.
No,
he came here all late.
Now we in the highways doing ministry. I came in late. So now, who dated the Muslim though? Because I missed that too. I didn't know we were being ecumenical.
She was younger. Younger.
I don't even understand what is happening. Like this is a safe place.
Was that Dana?
Like,
no.
Listen, I dated one too, Jen. If that makes you feel better, like you're not the only one. You're not the only one.
So I understand the attraction there because you like the discipline that they seem to have.
Oh, now y'all like discipline.
So Christian guys don't have discipline?
Jennifer got a fever right now because I snapped at her, and now she like discipline. See,
that's how we're talking about discipline, as in their lifestyle and orderliness and things like that. Oh my God!
So you mean to tell me there aren't some Jesus believing brothers out there who don't have that lifestyle and don't show that kind of discipline that you so are attracted to in a Muslim brother?
That is not what we said. Like, I don't know what has happened. I don't know because it's hot outside. I don't know. It's a lot happening. But
and then they left the comment up there for a minute.
Yeah, I want to make sure you saw that. Thank you, Chanel.
Well, why was Chanel? Like, really, Chanel?
You gonna be on the show next week. Nobody even gonna know. we gonna swap that bottom right square out. Not want nobody even know.
That is hilarious.
We were saying what was said. Like, this is not even. I don't even understand the climate of our situation.
Everybody share. I just want to point that out.
We were saying that.
So y'all just gotta leave it up
there. The same.
Go ahead, Jen.
What we were saying, the context was that we have all in our past had a preference that that we allowed to go before our standard. So we were saying in our testimony time, in our time of reflection, in our time of redemption, we were saying that back then, not like yesterday, but back then, we did that because they got something on them that we like. And if you have ever been to Philly, baby,
that's what it is. That's what's on.
No, baby. Like, if you ain't never been to Philly, let me tell you, there is.
Thank you, because that's where mine was from.
Yeah, if you ain't never been to Philly, there is a certain, something up there, and you have to tell yourself over and over, I love the Lord, and I will not take it back. I love Jesus. Like,
you have bacon too. Y'all ain't gonna give up no bacon and pork chops. Y'all don't want that.
Let me tell you, if it wasn't for the Lord on my side, I will be eating turkey bacon, and I'm just saying. But I'm mature now. What we learned from... Oh, go ahead. I wanted to answer this question. She said, what did we learn from Muslim men? That we can't date them. That's what we learned. But they do have a discipline. Right, he's not. But they do have a discipline that is a little different.
It's attractive.
Thank you.
Do we need an episode on Muslims?
But I wanted to
No.
go back to one of the comments that another young lady put up, because she said, is there such a thing as having standards that are too high? And could that be keeping people from finding the potential person that they're supposed to be with? And keep in mind that we don't have to look at this from a standpoint of like everybody's single because, you know, they're too picky or XYZ, but can that be one of the things that may be keeping some people out of a relationship? Can you have standards that are too high?
I don't think so.
I think you just have
I
to,
think you can.
you know how we reference the judge not scripture, and we typically butcher the context of that scripture. What the scripture is basically saying is you just have to know that whatever you put out is going to come back. I apply that to this situation because I think that no one is in position to tell somebody that their standards are too high because they don't have to live with whatever that person wants. But you got to be clear, if I'm going to have this level of expectation for them, I need to be clear that they have a right then to have that level of expectation of me. And I need to have that level of expectation of me. So I think it's dangerous to tell somebody that their standard is too high for what they want to live with for the rest of their life. But just be mindful that if you're going to put all of this on her, or for the sisters, if you can put all of that on him, you can't be offended when they have expectations. And I think that's where a lot of trouble comes in. We want to hold somebody to this huge elevated platform, but we want to be raggedy or, you know, whatever in our own life. And we don't want to be questioned about us. We want to have that whole, you got to love me as I am, or this twisted, dumb idea that if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Why would I have to handle you at your worst?
Right.
Why is your worst a standard? Why you don't want me at my worst? So why would I have to?
I think when people say that, it's with that expectation that everything isn't going to be rosy. I think that's where that sentiment comes from, because we know that there's, you know, in the beginning, of course, we date one another's representatives. We always try to put our best foot forward and all that stuff. But the reality of life is that at some point, I do want to see what you look like when you're angry. I do want to see how you handle sadness. I do want to see how you handle, because for me, those are your worst times. And so if I can deal with you, like I know typically for men, they shut down when they're stressed or overwhelmed or whatever. So if I can handle you going silent on me for a while, knowing that's how you're processing or whatever, and that's your worst, then I can deal with that. I think that's where that comes from. Not necessarily I'm going to be the nastiest, horrible, most, you know, vicious person to you that I can be. And then you have to accept that. And then you get lovey-dovey, wonderful bells and whistles, all that.
I'm totally with you on that, Dana. I just think, and I've seen in so many cases where that what you said makes sense, but a lot of people take that to mean you got to maintain this level of everything, and you just got to deal with whatever I give you. And I think that is a problematic line of reasoning.
So, like when people have said in the past, you can handle me because that's why you got two hands. Is that what you mean? Have you heard that? Have you heard the saying before that says, you got two hands, so you can handle me?
I don't
I'm
like
a lot,
that. That don't sit right in my spirit.
I know you don't like it. That's why
Saints don't talk like that. I don't like that
At all.
I don't like that. Saints don't talk like that.
But Shonda, you said that you think standards can be too high?
Yo, did y'all just see what was up on the screen?
What is that?
I thought you said
Candace?
they could be too high.
This goes to your point, Mark.
Oh yeah,
like,
true.
And I think that's why I say I don't think there's a such thing as a too high standard. And for those of y'all, this is just not even a shameless plug, just plug. Like any time outside of what we're facing right now that our visionary put something out there, Elder Mark Moore Jr.
Hold on, Lawrence.
Y'all need to show up.
I want the people to hear you. Go ahead.
Anytime Elder Mark Moore Jr. put something out there. Y'all need to show up and pull up. And the reason why I say that is because back in February, he held a singles event, and this topic of discussion was there. Our sister was there doing the moderating and everything. I still have thoughts about the nails question. We won't go there, but
it is June. You lost.
Lawrence.
I'm sorry. I think Lawrence is speaking.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Lawrence. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
So here's why I say that, because the very thing that Candace just put on the screen was the very thing that we were talking about there. The question came up: what is your biggest fear in dating and settling now? And one of the things that was one of my sentiments, and you said it too, Mark, is that one of my biggest fears is settling down with somebody who can handle me now at this level and can't handle me at the level that I'm going. And when you start talking about standards, I hold myself to the standard, hopefully, of the level that I am going to. And if you don't live life on that standard, and you think, though, that standard is just way too high, but you don't know how far I'm trying to go.
Right.
So how, like, it's impossible to necessarily say that that standard is too high. I think that there are some things that are unrealistic preferences, but I can't say that there are any standards that are too high.
I think I'll agree with that. I think I'll agree with that. What happened?
Say nothing. It's just a lot happening. You know, the Lord, He will take care of me. So is there a lie?
I saw what you did last week when the brothers were outnumbered. Don't be the victim now. Don't be the victim.
Nobody's a victim. It's just now you want to be, you know, whatever. Well, it is what it is. You know, I can hold my own. Anyhow,
I'm not sure.
Is there a lot?
It does not look like it. See, watch. See how you can hold your own? See how that worked? See?
I don't even want to talk anymore. You need to apologize because I don't have nothing else to say. You need to apologize. You need to apologize to me right now.
That's not gonna happen.
No, because you're acting up publicly. So you need to apologize publicly because you're really acting up.
I can assure you.
I'm gonna let the Lord deal with you.
Hold on. Here we go. I got a paperback for you. I can assure you that's not.
Really?
I had to get paperback.
That's what we doing?
Oh, I just want to let you know. I'm out and fair not to.
Wow. I'm gonna let the Lord deal with you. I'm gonna let the Lord deal with you. Anywho, because we're not going to. Wow. Anywho, is there a line that your preferences are hindering what God wants for you? Thank you, Tracy. I love you so much. I just want to say thank you to everyone in the comments who's emotionally supported me tonight.
Lawrence, you have another question?
Jen's got all our prompts, bro.
Oh God.
I love this show, man. This is great. Have y'all subscribed to Wild CTV? That's what I want to do. This is better.
I cannot wait till when I get a husband, he gonna come and see you, like for real. Because you're really acting up.
When is this gonna be?
I'm just saying. So you just wait.
6'4"? Is he gonna be 6'4"?
Wait. You just wait. When I get a husband, you just wait, and I be doing the marriage retreat.
I do believe
you just wait because he gonna come and see about you.
I believe you are gonna get a husband. He's gonna be dope.
Oh, I know I am. Your words can't affect that, but he gonna come see you because you really acted up tonight.
If God favors him, well, we're on live. I thought he might work for me. That's all I'm saying. He might work for me.
Woo! Anyhow, the question. Let's get back to your really
move down here. You know that.
Thank you, Sister Betterbug. I thank you. Can y'all please keep me in y'all prayers because it's really getting rough. It's really getting rough. Thank you, Regina. God bless y'all. So, is there where's the line? Where is it that you are interfering with God wants for you? And is it right for you to have certain preferences? Right? Like, is it okay for you to say? Let's talk about some real stuff. Like, is it okay for you to say that you don't want to date a big woman or a big man and you are a Christian? Like, is there what is the line that that is unhealthy or the line that is really obnoxious? Like, is it okay? Like, I talk about in my sarcasm, I talk about the PTSD of light-skinned men, and I believe that you guys have seen it here tonight. Like, you've seen the abuse. You're proving me right. It's okay. You're proving exactly. You're proving my theory. Your light skin situation. You're like, is that okay to say? I prefer chocolate men over light skin. Like, does it?
No.
Like, where is the line?
No, because here's the thing, and I'm gonna say this is I can't. Shout out to Donnell in the comments. Here's my thing. How could we say, or how could anyone suggest that it's unfair in some capacity for you to have a preference for what you like? Okay. How is it wrong for me to tell you that you're wrong because you don't want what I want you to want? That is the high. This is not what Jen is saying, but people that have that idea, that's the epitome of selfishness. And what we end up doing is we forget that God is their father, just like he's my father. So why would God make them miserable in order to make me happy? And in reverse, why would God make me miserable in order to make them happy? That's that line of reasoning. So many people have it. How dare you not want a big girl, or not want a small girl, or not want a tall man, or not want a short man? I don't have to like what you have to offer just because you have to offer it.
Sure.
That's ridiculous. If that was the case, everybody on this screen would be in a relationship with somebody just because that person wanted them first and they had no choice. That's a recipe for disaster. And if you get in a relationship simply to appease somebody else, what's the life expectancy of that? How long can you live through the ups, through the downs, the natural course of a relationship? How long can you live through that and maintain integrity and all of these things if you're only there to keep somebody else from being sad?
But Mark, I think what we're talking about too is not just that it's our happiness or whatever. What they're saying is like, is it what God wants for you? And that's where I think all of that.
I'm not talking about judgment on what. No, I'm not saying telling you what you should date.
God's not obligated to give you everything you want either.
Right. Like, is it okay for
you want that aren't good for us?
I got a problem.
Do y'all see these light skins unite? Light skins unite. You and Aaron. That's exactly what he said.
Who said that?
Aaron Harris. That's exactly what he
said. The Bible said that. You don't read your Bible. That's the problem, Jennifer. Aaron reads the book. Aaron reads the book. In my ways, please. Hear me. Don't tell me I ain't gonna get what I want.
The reality is, if you're praying, God, I want what you want for me, then at some point, your preferences are probably going to change, because he's going to change the desires of your heart. If you're really trying to align with his will.
No.
I don't know. I don't think that it's necessarily.
Excuse me, Principal Mark.
Here's the difference, though. Here's the difference. His height is not a desire of your heart. That's a desire of your eye. The desires of your heart should be aligned with God's desire, God's heart's desire for you, right? Those are the things, those are those intangibles. And we start talking about the standards, those are those things, right? Those preferences, that's not a heart's desire. That's your eyes' desire. But
again, we were talking earlier about our preferences versus our standards and how some of those things change. And of course, when you're trying to seek God's will for your life, then those things do change. There are some areas that do compromise. And I know people don't like that word because it sounds like such a terrible word, but compromise in the areas where you need to. And especially when you realize that all of your relationship is going to be a compromise of something. You're not going to get everything that you want in a spouse or in a person. And nobody comes together all ready made like it's a perfect little puzzle pieces that fit together. Because the point too is that there should be some imperfections that you have, some imperfections that I have, but our relationship together is what kind of grows us up and grows us together, so that I lose some of the things that perhaps were an issue for me before, or that we grow together in love and faith and strength and all of those other things.
Sure.
My 2 cents.
But once again, I think the question in terms of like, can our preferences get in the way of like what God wants? I don't see that. Like,
He's leaning in my direction. That's all I know. He's leaning in my direction. He know what I want. He's not gonna punish me. No. He's a good father. Huh?
That's who he is, huh? That's who he
What I
is.
want. Some of us, and I see Brian in the comments, he said, are we over spiritualizing this? God honors choice. I don't think that there's a divine button that he's going to push where you're going to have to robotically now be with somebody. No, you have a choice to make.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows what you want. Even you.
Lord knows you know what I want.
She didn't hear me. Whew.
I think she did. That's why she looking.
What you say?
Nick, God blocked it.
What was said?
What was the next question?
No. What he say?
No, I'm just saying.
What was said?
I'm saying
He's leaning in your direction, Jen.
He's leaning in my direction.
Oh no, I'm a firm believer that God will never play you. Like, if you know me, you know that's my tagline as far as my whole life. But I do think that sometimes we're unrealistic. And if we look at people who have been married for 48 years and 50 years and stuff, sometimes they wasn't even attracted to their husbands and or wives in the beginning. Sometimes there was something that, it wasn't exactly what they wanted, but it turned out to be what they needed for the long run. So I don't know if we're being completely I do believe that God honors choice, but I don't believe that. Like, are you open? Because I was going to say mature. Are you open enough to, if one choice is good but the other choice is better, are you willing to take the better if it doesn't have all your preferences? That was good. You should write that down. Like, are you willing? Are you willing? Because you get a choice. Like we talked about last week on the show about the one. We talked about that before. So if we talked about that, God provides you choices, and that you have the deciding factor to choose who you want to be with. Like, are you hindering yourself from choosing what's good over what's best for you because of a preference? So that's where I'm at, because we're believers, right? We're not immature. Like, we're getting to the level that we're talking about life partners, someone to walk with us for the longevity. So do you allow where is the line of your preferences? Like, is it solely, like, are you, let's throw some out there. Like, is it okay for you to say, I don't want to date someone with kids? It's my preference for me not to date someone with children, right? We know that, especially at YOC, that we understand that there are layers of different categories of singleness, and this is not a one size fit all mentality. So everyone has their different experience, and we honor that. So if you say, I'm single, I've never been married, I don't have any children, God, I would prefer not to date someone with children. Is that okay? Or could there be a wonderful man or woman of God who is a widow, or who has a story, who has two you know what I mean? And would you say, nah, that's not my thing? Like, is that okay? Like, is that okay? So I think that's what I want to explore. Like, is it okay to say that?
That's a good question.
I know I'm good at what I do, even
especially for you. So go ahead. What's the answer? What do y'all think?
I think it's okay to say that. I do. I just think you have to make room in case there needs to be something that breaks that expectation, right? Like, I think it's a series of the way that you manage your expectations in your relationships. And it's not to say that. So for me to say, I don't want to date someone with children is not for me to say, that's not the equivalent of saying that I cannot be cordial and befriend someone who has children. And should that relationship grow into something that was different, and that was like, kind of a nudge, like, this is something that might be good for you, then okay, I make room and I make space for that. But it's okay for me to say, yeah, no, that's not my preference. And I'm not looking for that person because that's not my preference.
And you shouldn't be bullied for that.
Okay. I mean, we can go with that, but
Well, what
I
do
don't know
you
if it
think?
always
What do you think, Jen?
works.
What do you think?
I mean, I think that it's cool to have preferences, but like so many people have said in the comments, I think that sometimes our physical attraction or the things that we want can prevent us from having God's best. Like this person could be let's just say, they have a story. Say this man, he's, from the outside looks like he's 37 years old. He has 4 children, and but you don't know that, right? So in from the outside, or just knowing some of the surface facts, somebody might say, nah, that's too much. But there is, or let's, there is something that when his power is partnered with your assignment, that there is something beautiful that can come from that. But because you don't want to date someone with children, or you're not open to that, then I do think that you could miss out because of a preference that may not be God's perfect, or may not be God's just better for you, if that makes sense. So I think, like, in the whole picture of things, I do feel like some of our preferences um may keep, I won't necessarily say us, but may keep some people single. Like maybe because some people, like, we're jovial, right? And we're laughing and we're talking or whatever. But some people are stuck on the preferences, and the preferences are just as high as the standards. So they're not even looking, they're not even entertaining the conversation with someone that does not check all their boxes. And I think that can be very dangerous. Just in my personal opinion, I think that if we are believers and we say that we're quick to say we're dating with purpose and it's all about what God wants. We're quick to say, not your will, but thy will be done. We say all of those things, but then we hold on so tight to our preferences. And I just wonder, could we be missing out? Or like Pastor Michael Todd just told the people, rip up your list. Like, that's what he said. And I'm not saying that we're subscribing to that or not, but
Laminated.
could it be? Oh my God. Could it be that, we are limiting ourselves because we're not open to God's best over our preferences?
I don't know that they're diametrically opposed, and they don't have to. And honestly, I think what everybody is saying is almost along the same script. We're just kind of saying it differently. I think what we're saying is that we trust and we believe that God knows the desires of our heart. And if we know that, and he honors us because we honor him, then we also have to recognize that he's going to honor us in our preferences as well. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they will all be met. That's why I think it's important that we recognize that just because this person doesn't meet the preference doesn't mean that they don't come close, because the preference is bendable while the standard is unbreakable. Like, it's not saying that he's not tall. Maybe he just wasn't that number, right? Maybe it's not that he's whatever or she's not whatever, right? Maybe they just don't get all the way to whatever that thing is for you. Or for instance, just with the example that we brought up right before we got on the live, right? Like, maybe it's not the fact that he has a 9 to 5, but maybe it's just the fact that he's working 2 things at the same time, right? Like, these are things that we take into account that says, okay, my preference is that he doesn't have a 9 to 5, but he's got a 9 to 5 and he's also working on something else. He's a grinder, right? Like, and that is something that I like. So I think it's important that we kind of can weave through that, because I don't think anybody on here would say that all of their preferences are set in stone and that preferences are in fact like equivalent with standards.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think the main.
No, I get what you're saying, but I think we misquote that scripture a lot. Like, saying God is going to give you the desires of your heart does not mean he's going to give you everything you want. It means that as you partner your will with God, as you seek the Lord, he's literally going to put his desires
Yeah.
on your heart. So
Yeah.
you're going to begin to want what he wants. He's not going to alter his best for you. He's going to, as you seek the Lord, as you are mature, as you lay down your will, he is going to say, this is your best. Now, I want you to look for this. Keep your eyes open for this. And it may not be your preferences. It won't go against your standard because the standards don't change. We kind of talked about that earlier, but are you willing for your eyes to be open? And I think that's kind of what I wanted us to explore. Let's go for the conversation that we talked about. Y'all know my ear is always to the streets, and there's a conversation that's going on right now. Y'all know I want to be, fake ratchet. And the conversation that's going on right now is no, because I'm a woman of God. Okay, I'm righteous. And the conversation is someone said, and social media is going crazy, that when asking her what did she want in a man, she was like, he can't have a 9 to 5. He needs to have a CEO mentality. He can't clock in and out. Those were her. Now she tried to go back and further explain, but I'm going with I believe that what you said the first time is that's what you meant. So he said he can't clock in and out, and because he's not gonna understand my
Was this a
lifestyle. A
celebrity
9 to 5
or
won't
just a
understand.
regular person?
So she's an influencer, meaning
I don't know who she is, Mark.
social media made her popular. Thank you, Donnell, for being in tune with the spirit. Yeah, so social media kind of, that's how she has worked jobs. She's on a TV show, so I wouldn't say she might be like C-list, but she is, social media influencers are the thing. So she said that, she just made $1 million status, and everybody, she has a book, she has products, she does X, Y, Z. So she said that she's not dating. She not looking for a man with a 9 to 5. And the social media is divided because people are saying, well, how can y'all judge her for her preferences? And other people are saying like, well, why is her preference so biased? Because you know that when she reached the level of a certain influence, what you say is going to be dissected. So yeah, like how does that like, is that okay to say for believers in the context of Christianity and what we believe? Is that okay? Is that limiting? Is that dumb? Like, I'll tell y'all my thoughts after y'all tell me.
I guess here's what I keep coming back to. How can we, who have no role in her relationship, past, present, or future, how can we wag our finger at her and say, how dare you want what you want?
But I don't think that's the context of the
Here's
conversation.
what I think we have to keep in mind. I'm sorry, and this back to you. Preferences don't have to be rational to people outside the relationship.
True.
Think about that, because here's the unspoken part. Here's the unspoken part. She knows her temperament. She knows her what excites her, what annoys her, all of that. So if she's basing what she needs on her temperament and knowing her better than anybody else knows her, how can anybody be mad at that? And take her out of it and let's use Jen. If Jen knows what makes Jennifer excited, if Jennifer knows what makes Jennifer angry, if Jennifer knows her pain points, what's a soft or what's a sensitive area for her, all of these things, and we are not privy to that information, Jennifer should believe God for what Jennifer wants. Don't nobody have to go home with Jennifer and her husband, but Jennifer and her husband. So I don't think it's right to critique anybody for their preferences, even if those preferences to us are silly.
I think that's a cute answer, but I think that when it is me, then I get ostracized because I am a church girl. That is equivalent to me saying I don't want to date a full. No, shut up. No, but that's equivalent to me saying I won't date a man in full-time ministry or I won't date a musician. That's exactly what that
That's okay.
Say that.
But I get crucified when I say that. Y'all don't want to be real. Y'all don't want to be real.
Crucified for her preferences. It doesn't matter though.
No, I'm not. That's not.
Say what they want to say, but you're the one who has to live in that relationship.
And Jennifer,
too much living in relationships for other people. That's why you have all these people posting on there, doing all that other stuff. Who are you trying to impress? The person you should be worried about is the person you're actually with.
For example, and I'm not sure if that's just the illustration or if that's your thing, but let's use full-time ministry for Jennifer. You are in your right to say, I don't want to date a man in full-time ministry, because you might know, and again, don't nobody get excited in the comments. I'm making this up for her. So those of you that are taking notes on Jennifer, she didn't say this, I said this. Jennifer might say, my love language is quality time. That might be Jennifer's love language. If she knows somebody in full-time ministry might not be able to give me that quality time because he's in this city on this day, he's in this city on this day, he's going to be here this week, she's within her right to say that might not work best for me. Why is that wrong for Jennifer to say that?
Here, I'm gonna go back to the initial question that Jennifer asked, though, which is it fair to say those things, and do they get in the way? And I think that they can, and here's why. Because I think because sometimes we say things, but what we say is not necessarily our sentiment. When she said, I don't want a guy with a 9 to 5, maybe that really wasn't the sentiment. Maybe the real sentiment was, I need a man who can understand the lifestyle that I have, right? Which, if I'm thinking about the interview that you mentioned, and she even went on to say, and I think that's important, because even if going back to church and ministry, even if that is your thing, saying, hey, listen, I don't want somebody in full-time ministry, because you can then disqualify somebody who would have been perfectly fine for you because they were in full-time ministry, because you thought they wouldn't be able to give you what it is that you wanted. Now, it's perfectly fine for you to do that, but because once again, that's your preference. However, we can't disqualify people without understanding like their lifestyle, because all CEOs aren't the same, right? All people who are not 9 to 5, all entrepreneurs are not the same. Whether people recognize this or not, when you're a CEO, you still punch in, right? Like you still got to go in. It's CEO is very different than an entrepreneur. So all of that is important. I think the real sentiment is, I need somebody who understands this lifestyle. And I need somebody who can meet those very real needs, my emotional needs, my physical needs, all of that. And when you have preferences that are generalized across a particular demographic, you can kind of cancel out people who may not have been bad for you, or maybe would have been able to meet some of those needs for you.
And maybe that's where we need to start.
So I think I'm gonna just have to push back. But
go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said that's where we might have to start correcting like our language and what we're saying, because just like, it's kind of hurtful to automatically disqualify people that we think won't be able to meet our needs, as opposed to allowing ourselves the opportunity to figure out, is this person, capable of doing what I need them to do, or be what I need them to be in a relationship.
And that's where I was going. Like, so I want to read this, and then I'm going to shoot it to someone else. Danielle says this: I think we have to examine why we have certain preferences. Is it because we want to look a certain way to other people, or is it because it suits us best? Like, is it the best for us? So I think it's like, I want us to get away from saying, oh, you can't choose what somebody else wants, because I don't care that much. Like, she don't pay my bills, so that's not, I don't think that's what we're saying. The context of our question tonight is, does it hinder you? Does it get in the way of what God wants for you? Is it okay as a believer to say these certain things and still be honoring God in our dating relationship and future marriage process? So that's why I'm getting that. Not necessarily if that's her thing, that's fine. But I think for me, for us to say in all of this, right, and this may be fake deep, I may be going too far, but for us to say last week, Black men, I love y'all. You are amazing. We got all of these different, affirmations for our Black men in the light of everything that's going on. And then to come back and say, but I'm not going to date y'all. You ain't enough for me. Like, why do we have to shame that was the issue for me, like shaming the 9 to 5 experience. Like, 9 to 5ers make $200,000. Like 9-to-5ers my PTO allows me to get on a plane to do things for YLC and still get paid on, or speaking engagements or whatever the case that I may do. So that's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily like, because even, or for example, if a man says he doesn't want to date a big woman, or he doesn't want to date, certain things in the church, like, we're not going to act like we be like, oh, that's fine, you can say that. Y'all be like, you gonna miss out on that good man, you gonna miss out on that good woman. Let's not act like we don't have those conversations in the church. But go ahead, keep going. I know what happens. I know what I'm in this game. I know what happens. Like, but keep going. I'm getting excited. Go ahead. Somebody else talk.
What no one is saying is it's not a thing, because then we'd all be lying. So I don't think anyone has said that one single time, is that doesn't exist. I think what we're saying, and I'll speak for myself, and those who want to join in can join in. But what I'll say is, I do believe, and we've been taught this in multiple different areas, but I believe it for this area as well, is God will get you, he will do for you what you believe, just generally speaking. But I think it's also specific. Not even I think. I believe it's also specific, and it can be specific to this right here. Now, if you don't know how to channel things and box things off and kind of have these, lines of information set up to where it's not a like CEO and 9-to-5, but you understand the reasoning behind that. I want somebody that's going to have time. That's a way better preference than I want somebody that plays this role, that plays this role. Because you can be, that boss guy and be all over the world, and then you still don't get that time. And so I think it's, if you're in tune with what's going on, you're in tune with what you need to be doing and things of that nature, you'll be okay. But I do believe that, whatever it is that you want, I believe God can get that to you. And so it's very unfair to be like, this preference, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you should do this, the third and the fourth and the fifth. I'm just of the mindset that that's what it's going to be. You know what I'm saying? Why are we laughing?
The
comment.
If you don't want to date a big girl, he can be hungry all by himself.
Hungry and cold, okay? Don't be trying to come around here around Christmas time.
What?
Warmed up.
That's
okay,
hilarious.
Be hungry and cold. And I say this because, just to add some context to the conversation, because I remember just even in my sarcasm on Facebook, maybe a while ago, I said, Lord, if you got one of them thick light skins with beards, if you got one of them in my size, you can go ahead and bless me. And immediately my godly white friends, they, crushed me in the group chat, was like, take that down. And I was just like, what is happening? What is happening? What do you mean? Like, what is wrong? And I'm just being myself. They were like, take it down now, because what you're doing is you may be blocking someone that's not light skinned, thick, with a beard from approaching you, and you are limiting yourself. And I'm talking about, they got some years in their marriage, and I honor their counsel. So that's why I'm having this conversation. We all know it's good to have your preferences, but
so if I have a preference, do I have to throw it on social media? If I have a preference and I feel a certain kind of way, do I have to put that out? Because the truth of the matter is, while I say this is what I want, I think Lawrence said it best, and we really could have ended the conversation after he said this, is the fact that if you're not what I prefer, but we do end up being friends, I actually like you as a person, I think you're a dope person, you think I'm a dope person, and it graduates into another level of a relationship where I care more, then that's like, maybe it's not my preference, but now I figure that that's what I need. And so I don't think, like, I don't have to broadcast this on social media. I don't have to broadcast this in a video, in an interview, or anything like that. Whatever your preference is, your preference is. But if it goes a different way, I think you have to be sensitive to knowing what you need and not necessarily being stuck on what you want.
I don't want nobody to respond to that until Dr. Reynolds does, because sometimes she be watching like she not on the show. She be like, oh, this is good. She be like, oh, that's you on the show, Doctor. You're on the show.
I'm sorry.
She be watching like, oh, what's happening?
I'm sorry, y'all. My Wi-Fi
I'm gonna get this in order. Go on, say something, Doctor.
No, no, but y'all are making really great points. I feel like sometimes when we do allow our preferences to get in the way of those things that, or we allow our preferences to guide decisions when it comes to dating and things of that nature, then that can definitely hinder what God has for us, people approaching us. I'm sure that those on our panel can definitely attest to that. So 100% true.
Here's the nuance that I want to kind of throw out there, because what Jen was talking about was a little different, right? Like, we all know Jen is hilarious, and when she throws something out there on social media, it's a joke, right? Like, and somewhat sarcastically, she put that post out there. That may just be a perfect preference, right? But then somebody came back on the back end to say, hey, listen, like, even if it was a joke, even if it was just funny, like, somebody who might be looking at you could see that and not want to approach you after that. So I think that's very different than what Elisha was saying. So I want
to. Is that a loss, though?
I mean, I get that.
Here's the thing. If she said, I want a man that light skin, has a full beard, and is thick, how is it then wrong for a brother that's, and again, there's no disrespect, but we're just talking about illustrations, a brother that might be brown skin, no facial hair, and skinny? How has he not just saved himself hurt feelings by reading that post and say, oh, I'm not her preference? I would suggest that if that's the man God has for her, even after reading that, he's going to be emboldened to say, okay, even though I'm not her type, I'm going to show her that she got the wrong type, because she ain't talking to this short, brown skin, skinny brother yet. And I'll use Jennifer as the example. She's got such a strong personality, and she's got so much vision and drive and whatnot. She wouldn't need a man that would say, oh, well, since I'm not tall enough, I'm going to leave her alone. Because that wouldn't work anyway.
Right.
Y'all, so for her to say, I want light, thick, whatever, good. Because now I just saved myself embarrassment if I don't fit the rubric. And if I don't fit the rubric and still feel Jennifer's for me, then I'm going to man up, I'm going to approach her, and I'm going to comment on that post with my short, brown, no beard having self. And I'm going to tell her, sis, if you ever open your eyes and realize that God has better for you. Short, brown, no. And now what is she doing? Now she's saying, who is this little short black man with no beard?
Agreed.
Let's talk to him.
Agreed.
That's all I'm saying. Let's save some time.
Agreed.
Let's save
that's the point. That's the point that I was really trying to get to.
No, it wasn't, Lawrence, but go ahead, ride the wave.
The point is, though, just that there was a nuance between what Elisha was saying and what Jennifer was saying, and I didn't want people to think that what Elisha was necessarily responding to was that, that Jennifer shouldn't like have posted or whatever.
No,
right?
I wasn't talking. No, I wasn't talking to what. I mean, we all know Jen, so we know like that's what
exactly. Very different.
Very different.
Hold on, excuse me. You want to finish your text and then come back, or I don't feel like I have your full attention.
No, I'm here because now y'all want to be nice. Now you want to act like you know me. Like now we a family. Now it's about what Jen wants and all of this stuff. Now it's a difference too. So I'm just in the comments. I just want to get emotional support. Oh, okay, I'm here. Come on.
All right, I need you to be present in the moment. Don't be like Dr. Reynolds. Okay, you're on the show.
I'm present.
Come here.
I'm present. My Wi-Fi keeps acting up.
Every week she'd be like, "This is so nice. I love it." We're gonna say something next. Like, say something.
Oh my God, yo.
I'm here tonight.
Yeah, this isn't right.
Y'all see these numbers? Listen, if you haven't shared it yet, we're gonna give you a few more minutes. We might, because preacher talk is not happening tonight, so we're gonna let this ride. I want you to get your questions together in the comments. We're not gonna be much longer because folks got things to do. But we're gonna give you a little bit more time if y'all promise to share. We want to make this show, one of we being on the screen want to make this show the #1 show on YLC-TV. We're doing, y'all have heard it said, we're doing like 90,000 views a week on this platform, and that's because of your shares, your comments, you tagging people in the post and all of that, your engagement. And so if you guys keep wanting it, we're going to keep giving it to you, but we got to know that you want it. So we've talked about this whole preference thing in great detail. as far as is it right or wrong. And the horse has been eulogized; he's dead. But I do want to.
So it's okay for economics too, because somebody put that on the. Is it okay for like as far as income? Because someone said it's okay. Like if you say, I don't want to date someone.
Lead that discussion because I think that's a necessary step, and then we can maybe even take it a little further. Talking about because one of the questions that people inbox us, and I'm just gonna drop this, and this is a real one. We talk about funny stuff. We talk about all kind of stuff.
Corey, we didn't ask you.
But
at all.
What did Corey say?
It don't matter.
It's not even close. It is. But the numbers on this one have gone up for some reason tonight. I don't know what happened tonight. What's different tonight, but for whatever reason, the people are in here. I don't know who brought them, but here's what I'm saying. Talk about the financial piece, Jennifer, because I think that's a necessary conversation. Talk about that.
Is it okay to say that you want to date someone that's only in a certain income bracket? Or is it shallow? Like, is it okay to say, I don't want to date someone that, because a part of that conversation, and we are, we're pretty much have gathered our own synopsis from it. But like, could you be missing out on somebody, like say they make 40,000 this year, but they're building something else. All of us on the screen are working on things. Like we do multiple things from 9 to 5s, 8 to 2s. Whenever we go to bed, we get on. All right, we get on here, and many of us, once we click off of here, we have meetings and things like that to prepare for the next thing. So, is it okay to count out that person? Like, when does it become, how we have that conversation about dating potential, not dating potential, and dating somebody's reality? Like, when does that happen? Like, is it okay for you to say that? And the reason why I really wanted to have this conversation tonight is because I really want believers, Christians, to take an inventory of what they're asking for.
Right.
Like, is it realistic? Is it something you truly desire, or you just want people to think that it makes you look better? Or, are we really going with the flow of God for our lives and trusting Him in our dating and relationship experience?
Hey, Jen, just real quick. I think I don't know this man, but he is kind of light skinned, full bearded, and he's asking, what income bracket are you looking for?
My God.
Wait, I'm scared. Wait.
Average. Christopher.
Wait a minute.
There he is.
Talking to me?
Christopher.
He's asking.
Hey, Chris. Like, no. So I was asking. I asked the questions here. It's like, no. I think that income is variable. Like, it's a variable depending on the state that you live in. So I will not say that you have to make a certain type of money. I will say, in order to marry, if we're talking about, and that's another conversation, is it different for men than it is for women? Right? Like, is it okay for her to make a certain type of money and you to make more money, since we're talking about you leading and providing? But for me, or just for the context of conversation, like $100,000 in Atlanta is different from $100,000 in New York City. Like, there's a different, you live differently. Right. The property value is different, right? Or not even Atlanta. Let's say South Carolina, because, everybody thinks things are better when you move to Atlanta. So, say you want to move to the rural of, the outskirts, and, up here, or down there, you can get a 6-bedroom house, I'm sure, for at least $300,000, right? A little bit up north, it may be double, right? So I think that as a female, as a woman of God, do you make enough money to take care of me, and will take care of you first, and contribute to what we're building?
Someone said he was married.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I'm not. That was a joke. Y'all not about to get me in trouble, because people be watching, and I don't be I'm not about to.
He say, she say, like,
I would say, like,
dating.
I would say, it's kind of like what was said earlier. I don't think it's a bad requirement to have, but you just must meet the standard. I just believe, like, if you're going to ask for something, be exemplifying what you're asking for. If you say you want to be in a certain tax bracket, which is probably where all your connections would come from anyway, then I don't think that's a wrong thing to ask. However, just as we've been saying all night, if you do find some, I think if you are in a higher tax bracket and your thought process could be someone in a lower tax bracket is trying to climb up or whatever the case may be. And that's a real thing. We're not even going to sit here and act like that's not a thing. Go digging from the men's side and the women's side. So you have that element. I would just say that maybe that's what they're running from the tax bracket for. But if you find someone that's there and you legitimately learn that they don't care about none of that, they care about you, they care about your well-being, they're worried about you, they're fiscally responsible and things of that nature, then that's not a bad place to bend, right? As Lawrence was saying earlier, that's not a bad area to bend in, as long as there's an understanding that this is not this money thing or this economics piece is not the main factor of this relationship. And so if that's the case, then that's a very fair assessment. But I think it's just going to be different person to person.
Can I say this? The two things that you're going to fight about in marriage are sex and money, because nobody can ever have enough of either one. And I don't think it's about income. It's about how you manage the money, because you can have millions and lose it all. You could have someone who makes a lot of money. I didn't get snatched off the screen this time.
I was distracted. Walk easy.
I don't think it's about the income level, but I think it's about a work ethic and about being able to handle responsibilities. So if you only make $20,000 a year, but you save and you have purchased your car cash and you are buying a home, I don't care if you have $1 million and we're worried about being evicted every month. You know what I mean? So it's about really how you handle the finances. Now, would we all like to have $1 billion? Absolutely. But I'm more interested in how you handle the money than necessarily the number.
Yeah. I think
I feel like,
Jennifer, didn't you say earlier that somebody?
No, she was about to say something, Lawrence. Please don't.
No, let Dr. Shonda.
Shonda, would you?
stop coming for me. I feel like it's dangerous to say like what's a good preference for someone to have and what's a bad preference for someone to have, because it's all according to what the desires of your heart is. So personally, I wouldn't necessarily be concerned with somebody else's tax bracket. I'm more attracted to the hustle. Like I'm more attracted to the things that you have going for yourself. Those are the types of things that kind of reel me in. I'm not really concerned with like money and things of that nature. I can take care of myself. So
I'm worried though, if you are hustling and grinding and going crazy and bringing in a lot, and as much as you're bringing in, you're pouring right back out. Now I'm worried, because when it now becomes the two of us, this is not just a you issue. This is now a us issue, and that's a problem. And so
you also got to say, I got to say this for my sister specifically. It's great to ask how much do you make? That's a great question. But a better, more mature question is how much of what you make do you keep? I've seen some brothers that make have great take-home pay, but child support eats that money up.
Right.
Sure.
So he makes X sum of dollars, but that's not what he has now.
Right.
I think we need to be mature about all of that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: when is it too soon to ask those questions?
As soon as you see a real future. As soon as you see a legitimate future.
that's good. Personally, I've never asked that.
That's because she rich.
Let me tell you, the twins got bank. The twins got bank and good jobs. Okay,
I know.
I'm just saying.
I've been to Delaware. My eyes have seen.
And they drive nice cars. Sorry guys. I'm just saying.
I think
This is good conversation. Maybe I need to ask.
Look at this in the comment, right? Go ahead, Lauren.
No, go ahead, bro. I talked a lot.
Look at this in the comments. Some brother may have potential, but be in a lower bracket. So this is, and once again, I do have issues with things like that. I'm not sitting here to pick up a project. Like, that's not what's going on. And so that's an unfair way of looking at it. That's just unfair.
Life is a project, and every relationship is a project.
Where you took it is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, when I see you, that can't be what I see. And that's what we see a lot, just like we were talking about earlier. I hate to say it again, but Jen, just like as we were speaking earlier, when we're going unsaved to say, I'm not saying nothing bad, I promise. I promise you. You're not going to hate me after this comment. But when we're saying unsaved to save, getting you from unsaved to a place of salvation, that's a project. That's not a project I'm willing to take on. And so you just have to.
But that's a standard, Elijah.
Okay, so
that's a standard versus
in that same way. Financial stability can also be a standard. And so what I'm saying is
there is a financial stability. You do not say how much money you make.
Go ahead. There's a difference between a project and a partner. If you're here and you have potential and the two of us coming together take us to a different place, that's one thing. But if I've got to pour and do all of these other things, that's a whole different kind of relationship. And all I'm saying is just if someone is saved and there's a walk in salvation, of course, that's one thing. But for you to be unsaved and me say, I got just what you need to come to Jesus. No, I don't. You better have what you need to come to Jesus. It's just certain things, just as we say that's a standard, so is financial stability. I'm not saying making millions, making hundreds of thousands, but being able to be stable and take care of yourself is a standard.
Yeah. So here's what I'm hearing between like what Dana was saying and what Elisha was saying, and then kind of even what Shonda was saying as well, is that we all value stability, right? But going back to the original question about preference in like how much someone makes, and whether or not that should or should not be something that we are looking for, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with wanting, or at least having a preference in a certain lifestyle that you want to live, right? Because this is the truth of the matter. How much you make, whatever that tax bracket is, or whatever you want to call it, that is going to lend itself to more access to more things, more places, more people, and that might just be the lifestyle that you want to lead. That is fine. That is a preference. However, I think the difference, though, when you start talking about like how much money somebody is making versus how much they're not making, goes back to what Shonda was saying, is that it's not to me what somebody's making, but more to me how they making it. Like, I like the grind, I like the hustle. So earlier in the conversation, Jen, you mentioned somebody put up on the screen that that we have to know why we have those preferences. So sometimes the preference might come out as I need somebody in a certain tax bracket, but what it really is, I need somebody who knows how to hustle. What it might come out is I need somebody who's not working 9 to 5, but what it really is I need somebody who understands my lifestyle, right? So when we start to peel back the layers on how we might communicate or what we might say is a preference, we might find out, okay, maybe it's not necessarily that I need somebody who's holding this job or who has this or is making a certain kind of money. I really need somebody who really knows this struggle of like always working and always coming up with new ideas and businesses, because that is what I do, right? So I think we got to kind of challenge ourselves in like what we're really asking for, because I'm gonna even push back on what Elisha said a little bit, because I think sometimes you can find somebody who has that grind and that hustle, and they might need some sort of push or investment to kind of elevate them to another level that you can see in them. Not saying that that's your responsibility or obligation, but it's just something that you're willingly offering for them to take up to another level, and that's fine. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they are for you, like they're the person that you're going to end up with for life. And then B, doesn't necessarily mean that can't be somebody who you continue to work with in the future. I think we get this misconception that when people are in this space.
Remember your brothers and sisters, Lawrence. Remember your brothers and sisters. That's what they would say in testimony service when somebody getting long-winded. Can't tell it all. Can't tell it all.
When we get in this space, sometimes we think like when you see somebody, like we either got to date them or leave them alone, and that's not the case.
Well, we are talking dating, right?
Shonda, what do you have to say to that?
Yeah. Well, I just want to go back on what I said, what Lawrence had identified. So just to clarify, I wasn't saying that if I date someone who is like working at McDonald's, I'm okay with them staying there. But as someone who's very ambitious and a hustler, like my hustle is contagious, and I don't say that arrogantly. So if you are with me, if you are my partner, trust and believe you might be working at McDonald's when we start, but you'll probably be the CEO by the time we're done. So that just to clarify my statement.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I have a question. Is there a difference between project and partner?
Yeah.
Okay, so project is a no-no, partner is okay. Simply put.
How do you know which one is which?
Yeah,
How
I
would you
think
decide
I
on
don't
But
that?
think
dating is a project in itself.
I don't think it's that tough to understand when you figure out that it's more pouring than it is receiving, or even not even just that. If it's all pouring and no receiving, at that point you know for sure it's a project. And I'm not saying I don't have an issue with that as a person. I'm just saying when you look across the table at somebody you want to call yours, I just feel like I can sit here and be okay saying to myself, I need a little bit more than that. That's fair to me. Whether it be fair or not to the next person is okay. But I just feel like that's fair to me. Now, in my business, do I do it? There's several people that in several businesses, clients, whatever, that there is a pouring that's done. And I'm not even looking back in some of those cases for anything in return. And so I don't think you can equate the two. And Lawrence, you're absolutely right. It can be a friend. It can be someone that, that you're with. But I just think when you're talking dating, I think that like you should already be on an incline. And me coming and adding myself to the picture should be taking you that much further, faster. Shout out to Tommy who's not here. Right. So that's what I think. If I come and I add, we should be going to the place that you're already going and at a quicker speed. And sometimes it can be somebody that's going into a totally different place. But there is a difference between someone where it's like, what's going on here? Like we've got to fix this whole shindig up. That's one thing. And
Remember your brothers and sisters, Elijah.
you can
Remember
go.
your brothers and sisters. Can't tell it all.
I forgot the moderators here. My apologies.
Yes. Dana, speak to what he just said.
I think I don't think you have to. This whole idea that you have to be on an incline or whatever. I know, like we always talk about, like not liking people who have baggage. But maybe part of being in a relationship with you is to help people unpack some of that baggage. Maybe you have the patience, the skill, the love, the attention that they need. So that if you do meet somebody who's down or they're not necessarily on that trajectory, because that's what you have to understand about life and relationships. Everything is up and down. So if you don't meet me on my incline, if you meet me when I'm down at the bottom or whatever, does that make my previous inclines or my future inclines any less valuable? So I think we make up all these little crazy things that sound good about relationships, not recognizing the fluidity of life. Everybody's a work in progress. You're not always going to be on the incline when it comes to your income. You're not always going to be on the incline when, there's a reason the Bible talks about a valley of the shadow of death. Like everything isn't always mountaintop. So if you happen to meet somebody when they're not at mountaintop, do you disqualify them?
Okay, so
what are you suggesting that it has to do with mindset? Because life can catch you at different junctures of your journey. But if you have a mountaintop mindset, even if right now my money's in the valley, business might have gone bankrupt, the economy shifted, and for what my industry is, there goes my money right now. But if my mindset is on the mountaintop,
right,
are you suggesting that that's more important than where my feet may be at that moment?
Absolutely. That's absolutely what I'm saying, because it goes back to even when we were talking about income versus how you manage the money. Mm-hmm. It's not about the number. That's a mindset. How you manage money is a mindset.
You can make $1 million and still be. There's a whole documentary, 30 for 30, called Broke, about professional athletes, some of whom made hundreds of millions of dollars and are dirt broke right now because while their money changed, their mind didn't. Right. And so I think that what we're talking about now, we're making progress here. I think we're talking about mindset. Now, Jennifer, you're asking a good question. I don't know why you're typing it like you're not on the show. You could actually just say it, but we'll read what you wrote. Or do you want to? See, it's because you and Shonda are next to each other now.
No, the thing is because
do you want to say it, Jennifer? Go ahead. We can hear you. Do you want to say it? In fact, let me help you. Do you want to say it?
can you stop?
You typing. Come on and talk.
So, but that I think that is the battle, especially for us who are um past the age of, I don't want to say even past the age, but who want more versus what we're willing to wait. Like, where's the line? You know what I'm saying? Like, how long does mindset last? Because this conversation saying was cute, right? But I'm at the age that I like $300 dinners. Like, I like a certain type of lifestyle sometime. Now, I don't want that. Like, the conflict that I have is that you don't want, of course, we say, well, don't be dating projects and stuff like that, but I don't want to miss out on the incredible man that may have incredible vision, but he doesn't have what I think, it should be right now. Say he makes $25,000 right now. The reality is I'm in my well, I'm not mid-30s, but 30-ish. And how long are we building? How long is the struggle? Because then we quick to say, I don't want no struggle, love. But is there some to the struggle? Like, that's the war that I'm fighting. Because it's easy to say that not all people are projects, and it's easy to say we're dating ambition. But at the end of the day, like, how do I marry the world? You know what I mean? Like, how do I? Because at the end, I'm tired. I've been praying. I've been, I have been considering all tax brackets, and I've been patient, and I've been waiting on the Lord. But I want to live a good life too. And that's not something that. Let me be very clear. That's not something that I cannot provide for myself. That's not something that I can't tab for myself. But I do. I like flights. I like place. Like, where is the line? Like, when does it become obnoxious? Opposed to like a project, you know what I'm saying? Like, or opposed to grace and having that person the ability to grow. Like, is it? I mean, you may still want to be a music producer at 36, and you may make it. Like, Cheryl Brady started her preaching. She's one of my favorites. Started her preaching career in her late 30s, right? Like, so when do we draw the line? Because it's easy to say no projects and no settling, and no struggle, right? But that's the conflict that I fight. So I'm just being honest. That's kind of where I'm at.
Let me clear up what I feel is some misconceptions to what I'm saying.
If we want to be very clear, hold on, excuse me 1 second. If we want to be very clear, Keith, because he's my Facebook friend, sis does get flued out, amen, and she flies herself out. God bless you in the holiest way possible.
There we go.
Anyway, I'm gonna clear up whatever I feel like is this misconception around what I'm saying, and what I'm not saying. Someone with a vision and a grind is not a project. That is not what I'm saying. I'm not even mentioning a dollar bill. And so that's my thing. I'm looking at it from a place of where you are and where you're trying to go. Period. If we can be ground level, but if we're heading in a certain place and we believe we're going to get there together, then that's cool. It's a different thing when I'm seeing such, and we were just talking about this earlier. It sounds like a whole lot of inconsistencies. We were just saying, if this is where I am, but this is where I'm trying to be, I need to make sure that we work and you work for where I'm trying to be also. And so there's a difference in me trying to groom another person into the idea of where I'm trying to go, and somebody being ready for it or already wanting that for themselves. And now we partner up to get there. Those are two different things. And so that's all I'm saying earlier. That's what I'm saying now is there's just a difference in the two. And I don't think we don't have to make it, anything about the Holy Trinity and make it spiritual and all that other things. We just have a place where we.
Israel, the Lord our God is one God.
We're oneness over here. Somebody tell me we're oneness over here. And somebody tell them we're oneness over here.
Oh my goodness.
He was doing so. You were running so well. What did
you?
Nah, go ahead, Elijah.
I'm just saying. I feel like.
That's funny.
I feel like that's not when I say project. That's not what I'm talking about. It's somebody that got busted up by life, or someone that's on the down and out, or somebody that's in that low place, that low season. That low season doesn't mean that you're a project. That's not what that means. Project, that's definitely where you see yourself going, what you see as potential. I cannot come around to be fixing all that. Those are things I need fixing. But if you have a vision and a dream and you have the grind to get there, that doesn't need a fix. That needs time, which makes Jen's question very irrelevant is how much time do I give you? Well, I'm going to be honest.
Hold
If
up.
we have
Wait. Did you say Jennifer's question was irrelevant? I just want to make sure I heard it.
I said it was relevant.
Oh, I was like, good. I thought he said that's what makes Jennifer's question irrelevant.
No.
There's a lot of abuse tonight, and I just want the viewers to see the abuse that is happening. Please note the abuse that is happening on this TV show. God bless y'all.
It makes her question absolutely relevant. Is the fact that with you having dream and with you having vision and grind and all of the other intangibles, as we would call them, how much time do I give that? And for me, I would give that a lifetime. You have a lifetime to be everything God says you are to be. I'm worried about me. I'm responsible for me. I'm not responsible for whatever your timing is.
Lifetime.
You do have a
that
lifetime.
Doesn't even make any sense.
Some people have walked into the fullness of who they were right before they died.
That don't even make sense. So you're gonna wait a lifetime? You just said, bro. I don't think you know what you believe. You literally
potential.
What's the question at me right now?
I don't think you know. I don't think you know.
What you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm confused. He said, "Hold on. Okay, let me bring clarity. What I heard you say, and I could misunderstood. What I heard you say is that you should give that potential a lifetime to manifest. Because Jennifer said, "How long is too long?" and you said a lifetime.
Now, being who you are or financially, I'm cool financially. Now, I'm just worried about from a purpose standpoint. I'm saying that.
Okay. God bless.
Purpose standpoint is what I'm saying.
So, here's kind of where I fall on this. Because I think the thing that we would typically think is that question would be for our three ladies, right? Like, because it would be like, yo, he's whatever. Like, how long are we gonna give him to like get his stuff together, right? I'm not saying that is about you. I'm just saying typically we would think, okay, ladies, how long are we gonna give this guy to get his stuff together, right? I know you like him, he got some potential and whatnot, but there's some things that we gotta get there. But I'm just gonna speak from my experience. I think that is something that I can kind of speak on experientially, and I think the comment that I put in the chat speaks my answer to that. The moment,
but you're here on the show, so make sure you tell it. Don't just put it in the chat.
Go ahead, Lawrence.
The moment that I no longer see that progress or even that drive or that initial thing that was the attraction. I'm so sorry, Jen. That for me is an issue. Because what I'm thinking now is I'm starting to be more attracted to the potential that I see in you rather than the patterns that I see from you. And I think that's where it is, that's where it ends for me. The moment that I no longer see that promise of that potential starting to be manifested and you're starting to show patterns that suggest that you will not continue to push toward whatever that potential is or that you will not realize it. For me, that's got to be when the struggle love is over.
Elisha, I think the people are demanding that you clarify that last statement because these comments are hilarious. You gotta make this lifetime thing make sense. Are you saying that person has a lifetime to get them together, or are you saying somebody should wait a lifetime for somebody's potential to realize? Because I think they're misunderstanding what I think you're saying. Are you frozen?
I think he's frozen.
He looks frozen.
That's that spirit of confusion. That spirit.
You don't want a project, but now we're going to give you a lifetime.
Now he's gonna give you the rest of your life to figure it out. God didn't. He didn't orchestrate that. He didn't know what was happening. He didn't know
We
if he was
gotta give
sinking or
our boy a
swimming.
chance
God
to
bless
come
his
back.
heart.
He can't go out like that.
If he can make it,
He can't go out
that
like
spirit.
that. Elijah, you back?
I don't know what happened. Yeah, I'm back.
The devil tried to take you out. The devil tried to take you out. What we were saying was these comments are wilding right now, and you got to explain because I can't let you go out like that. Are you saying?
I mean,
explain this lifetime piece because I think people are thinking, me and I am people, that you're saying you got to give them a lifetime to get it together. Explain what you're saying.
say that one more time. No, it just broke up. My bad.
No, I was saying the people are confused by your lifetime statement. What are you saying about this lifetime piece? Are you saying that you give that person a lifetime to get it together?
I mean, there's things that are non-negotiables. How you handle yourself is a non-negotiable. I'm not saying I'm giving you a lifetime to figure out how to get your credit right and things of that nature. That's not what I'm saying. But
Okay.
like the surplus of your finance might be connected to purpose that you won't activate until another 10 years or another 5 years. So I'm talking about that time piece. I think there's a lot that goes into that, and it might not be in the next 6 months. It might not be next year. It might be in 10 years. It might be in 15. I don't know. I've seen families that kind of they believe that they're bound to do something, right? And so they've been in a waiting season, and you never know how long that takes. So that's what I'm talking about.
But how long should you be with that person though?
Right.
Like
That's the
I
question.
mean, if the two of you are connected to, I mean, all right. So say this. Say God gives you a promise. How long? When do you walk away from all of that? When is the day you say, "I've been waiting too long"?
that's not my promise, bro. Like if somebody is not,
I'm not
if
saying
they
it's
gotta
mine,
take
but
a
I'm
whole
speaking
lifetime to
generally.
figure themselves out, that ain't for me.
But
That's
I'm not
my
saying
promise.
it's mine. It was a general question. I'm answering from a general
Now
point
it
of
ain't
view.
yours. Now you don't know who said it. It's just for anybody. Like it's just anybody could just wait a lifetime. You ain't waiting a lifetime, but it's anybody. Okay. All right. We just don't understand, bro. We just don't understand. We just want some understanding. That's all. That's all we want. Oh, I can't sing that song on this show, but that's all we wanted.
I want to hear from the ladies on this question. How long is the struggle love?
She said,
Like
I
how long
guess
are we
I'll see
waiting?
you next lifetime. Yo, y'all are hilarious. Yeah.
Um, I don't. It's hard, y'all. Like I don't.
Can you really put a number on it though?
I am not familiar with this struggle love. That's no answer for
I
you.
think when it goes beyond my grace, like when it goes beyond my frustration, like when I can't handle it no more. Like I think that sometimes we consider things projects and when we think that it's necessarily somebody waiting for their potential, they really need discipline. So I'm not willing to allow you to waste my time because you're not disciplined. Like if you know that you have to pay your bills on time, if you know that you have to go to work on time in order for you to not get fired, like I'm not going to say you didn't lost your job 4 times. Oh, that's potential. That's because you ain't met you ain't found a job for you. You ain't found your purpose. No, you have terrible work ethic, and I'm not going to make excuses for your poor discipline choices. But I think once I get frustrated and you don't have a game plan and you're not making any progress, I'm out. I don't have a time for it. But I know when the frustration, all I see is that, and I don't see the love for you no more. I'm done. I don't got no more.
But doesn't that go back to the reason I'm not so familiar with that is because the people that I tend to either be attracted to or have married were all hustlers, just like me. So they weren't going to let a bill get cut off. They weren't going to let nothing happen.
Right.
So I don't know what the time limit is to allow someone to bounce back or whatever.
But for me, it's not just about finances. It can be your potential. It can be, because the thing for me as a Christian woman and just what I look for, it's not about how much you can do for me financially. You may need to be in a mature place in God because you can make a whole lot of money and bring in and pay everything. And when I need prayer, you don't have a prayer life. That's still not enough progress for me. If something goes down, like we in a whole pandemic, your
Right.
status and your clout can't help us right now. If
Right.
somebody in our family, one of our children got sick, and your spiritual life is still on, it's still a little weak, and you're not making the necessary steps to get in the face of God to grow, that's an issue for me. So for me, it's about all of it all the way around, because you can have one piece, and if that one can do that one piece so well, but for me, I'll still be miserable if you don't have all of the things that are a non-negotiable for me.
Let me stop you right there, Jennifer, because I think that leads to the next question we're probably going to end with. What are your non-negotiables?
I'm not answering this
That's
question.
say what?
I'm sorry, nothing.
And I didn't hear what you said. Say what you said again when you were saying
No,
something.
sir. I didn't say anything, sir. I didn't say anything, sir. I
Because
was saying it was rhetorical. I
you
didn't think
really
you
shouldn't
were
mumble
asking.
because I can't hear you
Oh,
when you.
I'm sorry. God bless you. I love you, man of God. You are so.
Okay.
You are amazing. You are brilliant. Like, thank you for this
All
show.
right.
Thank
All
God for
right.
you.
All right.
Thank God for you.
Thank God for
God
you.
bless you. Bless your heart. Don't get rebuked openly. Okay.
It's
Openly.
already happened 18,000 times here. Help me.
All right now.
Sorry.
So as I was saying before, Jennifer's signal got sketchy there. First of all, we are over 200 people. I think that needs to be said between YouTube and Facebook. So to God be the glory for that. But I do want to know, and we're gonna end it here. What are legitimate non-negotiables? Because we have a lot more people on here now than we did, initially. And I think that's an important question because we're doing all this talk about preferences. We're doing all this talk about, potential and lifetimes and all of that. But what are some legitimate non-negotiables?
I think we got to lean on our standards to answer that question, right? Like if we're talking preference versus standards, right? We start to look at, okay, what are some standards that I have and which of those am I saying are non-negotiables? And for me, if I'm claiming it to be a standard, then it is non-negotiable. So just to go more specifically into that answer, faith for me is a non-negotiable. Yeah, it's a non-negotiable. Like there's nothing to talk about for me, and I think faith has works that goes with it, right? So there are certain things that I will see from you that would indicate to me, or at least that should indicate to me, that you are of the same faith as I am. So I lean heavily on that to really kind of inform my decision on who I'm going to talk to, who I would even show interest in, and which I think is a good point too, that we know that people will be looking at you to see those things. But for me, number one, faith is definitely a non-negotiable, like standard non-negotiable.
What else? What are some other legitimate non-negotiables? Somebody said you can't be a Trump supporter. Teresa said you can't be a Trump supporter. Talk to me. What are some other non-negotiables?
I would say ambition. So of course, faith and also ambition. Um, so your non-negotiables are always rooted in your values, those things that you value in life, whether it's faith or success and all those different things. And I can honestly say that I value success. Like I value being someone who is driven and motivated. So an individual who isn't ambitious, who's not out here hustling, grinding without a plan or a vision, I would say that's one of my non-negotiables.
What else?
What's
Somebody
yours,
said,
Mark?
Ruby said head shape and smile. That is hilarious. That is hilarious. Somebody said humility. It has to value
Kindness is a big one for me.
kindness.
Kindness, like if you, one of the things, and it seems so small, but if you mistreat like waiters, if you like feel like
That's big.
certain people are um beneath you, like I don't play that type of stuff. Like if you're not a giver, like, and not just, you definitely need to be a tither, but even your time, like, do you consider others, do you consider the poor, like, do you self-righteousness, I can't mess with it, like I can't, that haughty spirit, like,
Mm-hmm.
you need to be kind. It literally, if you mistreat the waiter, you don't even call me no more. I don't even want to be your friend. Like I can't, I
That's so
can't, I don't
unattractive.
tolerate things like that.
Mm-hmm. Dana, what about you?
Faith is a non-negotiable for me as well.
I can see that for you, Dana, because you haven't dated a Muslim. But go ahead. What you were saying? Go ahead.
Also, I would say, like, infidelity and, violence as problem resolution, those are non-negotiables for me. There will be no violence in our house.
Dr.
Definitely.
Reynolds?
You said Dr. Reynolds. So
Yeah.
I said mine already. So I mean, I can say more.
Yeah, come on.
Definitely ambition, visionary.
You're on the show. You're on the show. You be the only one here with popcorn like, this is a great.
An individual who's like rooted and grounded in the things that they believe in, especially respecting your parents. Like, I cannot tolerate someone who's disrespectful to their mom or their dad. Like, that's just something I don't like or won't stand for. Right. So yeah.
Okay. Mark, what are your non-negotiables?
We're not talking about me. Lawrence, go ahead.
Why?
Well, since my comment is on the screen, I think this is a huge one for me. I think if I don't know why we're doing shit like this. For me, a big thing is some sort of emotional healing, emotional work. Like because this is something even within the last 2 years, I've really kind of been introduced to this because it was kind of a new thing for me. And I think once I started to get introduced to it, I started to see even in my own life where there were areas that my emotions were impacting and driving me in my relationships. And without the knowledge of that, I couldn't fix that. And I think there are certain things that we do, certain behaviors that we have, actions we might take, habits we may even have that manifest themselves in our relationships that are being driven by our emotions. And that if we're not aware of it, and if we don't allow God and help with like therapy and heart healers to kind of come alongside us and help heal our hearts, relationships are going to be tough. So I feel like if you are at least like in that space where you are in that journey, have begun that journey, and it's an ever going thing, it's not like anything that's going to end. I think that's really necessary for me because the healthier I get, the more I can identify dysfunction and I don't mesh with it, So for me, emotional health is huge.
Elisha, this is your shot at redemption. This is your moment. This is your moment. We can erase the memory of that whole lifetime fiasco. All right. This is your moment. Elisha, I need you to shine. Elisha, go ahead, sir.
I would say communication for sure, because I'm not the arguing type. And so like I really won't sit there to like, and when I say argue, I'm not saying, be at odds or not agree. But I don't want conversation that's going into you. That's why your mama's like this and you doing this, because like that's unhealthy to me. And so I need us to be able to have a disagreement and communicate about it, and the conversation makes some sense. Hygiene is definitely a thing. Like if your breath stinks,
talk about it. Stay there.
I'm not doing that. Like if like your breath is a must, your body is a must. Like that's a non-negotiable. Like we won't even make it to a date if that's the case. If I come over like, oh, you look so good, and you go, "Whoo, thank you," and I'll go, "Whoo, you're welcome." I'm probably, that's probably the last thing I'll say. I'll be walking away.
Not just breath either. It's the whole body.
No, not just breath. There's a lot more that goes into that. I'll leave it alone though. This is YLC. And then definitely
but this is YLC, right? We talk about these things.
No, I'm not going there.
No, the principal's here. No telling what's going to happen tonight.
I'm not going there. But family, I think is often.
Go ahead, Elisha. I just hate rules. I just hate when people just
family is major. Family is major to me. Like I was raised a little bit differently. I was raised to rely on family. I wasn't the sleepover kid and all of that other stuff. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but that's not how I was raised. And so I rely on the people around me. I have an extremely small circle. And so family has to be like big to you. I'm not saying you can't, go out with your friends and things of that nature, but when I finish my day, I'm running back home to you. And so that's kind of, I need to be able to know that when I run there and get there, you're there. And I don't like I said, I don't have a problem with, going out with your friends and having a good time. I don't know too much yet how I feel about girls trips. I don't know if that's in holiness, but I mean, that's another conversation for another day. But I'm major on like family is huge to me. And so I think those are three things that are major.
That's the dumbest thing I ever heard of in my life. You don't believe in girl shit. That's dumb. Don't tell nobody
I
that.
don't know how I feel about it. That's a fair statement.
That is dumb.
How do you feel about a guy?
What do you mean? He should. I wouldn't have
go away
friends.
with her girlfriends on some occasion
Because I trust him. He is saved. He don't want to die. So he's gonna go and have a good time and come back.
That's that African.
What?
Are you from Nigeria? Is that
Are
what
you
that is?
okay?
I'm not from Nigeria. I just said I don't know how I feel about it, which is a fair statement, I believe. I think that's a fair statement.
No, it's not. Don't say that anymore. Like, don't tell a woman that. Don't say that anymore.
I didn't know you were my mom.
I love you.
No.
I mean, we can fight. I'm just trying to help you get girls. Like, I'm just trying to tell you what I do. Okay.
I don't need help.
But you got it. You got it. God bless you. You got it. Say it all you want. He doesn't believe in girls trips, guys. He doesn't believe in girls trips. Make sure you note that. Make sure you note that when he's in your inbox. He doesn't believe in girls trips. Okay.
Oh, these comments.
You got it, big dog. He doesn't believe in girls trips. Okay? You got it.
He didn't say he
I'm
didn't
trying to help you. I
believe in
love
them.
you.
He said he didn't know how he felt about them at this present moment. I think
He didn't know how he felt about I'm not going to sit here and let y'all attack Elijah like that. I won't stand for it. Y'all are not going to put words in his mouth. He said he doesn't know how he feels about it. Jennifer,
he hasn't made a determination. But somebody put something in the comments that I thought was good that said that your body is a temple, which made me think of another non-negotiable for me. Physical fitness is a must. Like, that is my lifestyle. That is the way I like to live. That's the way I like to eat. That's the way it's a must.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, did not our hearts burn?
No, mine did.
That's not your heart burning, bro. That's that seat, because they put you on the hot seat tonight. But it's okay. You are secure in this. You are part of the family.
I am so confused. And I love you. You know I love you. Like, don't even try to come on here in front like you know I don't love you. But that just
make that wait.
I just don't want you to. I just don't want you to block your potential.
We don't have to do that. We don't have to do that.
So you don't love me? You don't love, okay, all right.
I'm just saying we don't have to do that in
That's
this moment.
fine.
We don't have to make up for it
That's
with I
fine.
love you. I'm cool.
Keep that same energy, Doc. You got it.
What made it funny was the face. That's what did it for me. That Jennifer face. That will never not be funny. That will never not be funny. So we're gonna have to take this girl trip thing offline because y'all are really fired up about this. I'm just looking at the thing. We're really fired up about these. I didn't know girl trips was a religious thing for y'all.
It's not even that it was religious. Like, he was, I agreed with everything he said, but then it was just like, yeah, I don't know about girl trips. It's just like, like what? Maybe I just should have said something because of my lack of understanding. So I apologize to my castmate. I didn't mean to do those things. I'm sorry. I just been under a lot of pressure tonight. So God bless.
That didn't feel authentic. I'm just gonna say it. That didn't feel authentic.
It feel like Drew Brees, bro.
It felt like a Drew Brees apology.
That's funny.
That's what it felt like to me. That's what it felt like to me. Somebody said girl trip to YLC. That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
I mean, that's actually what people do, but God bless.
That's enough, Jennifer. That's enough. Stand down. Stand down. Bad genital. Calm down.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
So now I'm a puppy.
Let
Great.
him live.
Like,
Let him live.
now I'm a puppy.
You're a pit bull. You ain't no puppy.
E said pit bull in the skirt, making them hurt. It's like, sorry, keep going. I'm sorry. Sorry. I'm done. I'm done.
Oh man. Oh
I'm
boy.
done. I
Well,
love you
this
guys.
is what we want y'all to do. It is 200 people in here between YouTube and Facebook, which is amazing. In all seriousness, we're on here having a we're this is therapeutic for us, seriously. And I really think that this is therapeutic for a lot of you all that are tuned in tonight. Sometimes you just need to come together,
Levity.
to laugh, have fun in a safe environment. Everybody, let me make sure everyone's clear in the comments. Everybody on this screen loves each other. We were friends before this. We're gonna be friends after this. I do not think Elisha's gonna tell Jennifer that he loves her, and she is. Don't say it, Elijah. I'm not even gonna let you say it. I'm not even gonna let you say it. She's not gonna play you like that, bro. I got you. So so we needed this. We needed this tonight. And so I hope that you guys have enjoyed the conversation. I hope that you guys have had fun tonight. I hope you guys have heard something that's going to bring you some peace and an opportunity to reflect and grow. And most of all, make sure you guys have shared. Make sure you guys have subscribed to YLC TV. Make sure you guys are connected to us. Follow everybody on this screen, okay? In fact, let me see. How do we do that? I want to put their...
Take the comments down.
Take the comments down. Okay, there we go. You see everybody's username? Follow everybody that you see. Follow everybody that you see. Follow Lawrence at Real Lawrence Scott. Follow Dr. Reynolds at paging period Dr. period Shonda. Follow Elisha at Sumo TV. You see it right there. Follow Dana at Dana D. Tyler. And certainly she's our department director for our singles. Please follow Jen at Lady Inspiration. All right, at Lady Inspiration. If by chance you're not following me, I'd love to connect with you too. I got a few things to say every now and then. Follow me at M Moore Jr. And no, in all seriousness, we've laughed, we've joked, we've teased. That's what family does. That's what a healthy family does, I'll say. So know that with all of this, at the end of the day, we're still praying for you. We care about you. We're committed to seeing you better from a holistic perspective. And I also want to say this. We launched today. I'm very excited about this, y'all. YLC launched today our online counseling center, Safe Spaces. And as of 5 o'clock today, people were booking appointments. What is Safe Spaces? Safe Spaces is our online counseling center where people can experience free. I want to make sure you're clear on that. No charge, no cost, free therapy from licensed, accredited, if you will, Christian counselors that are provided, and they're all counselors of color. I'm going to say that too, which I think that's an important point to make. So in all seriousness, all of us have been living with some real trauma right through here. The news is depressing to see Black and brown bodies discarded. That takes a toll. All right, to see and to live through this pandemic that is no joke. I saw an interesting stat today that said from Bloomberg saying that Florida saw like 8,000 new cases in a 7-day period because they reopened so soon. And we're really not going to know what the protest, we're not going to know what Memorial Day has really done to the spread of this thing for a week or so. So we need to be prayerful. We need to be smart. I'm going to be posting, Elisha's going to help me get it up right away. Just kind of an appeal for us to really, really be smart with how we're doing and how we're moving. Don't make the mistake of thinking that because we're young and we're in shape and we're fit, that we are somehow immune. Let's break the super Negro myth, okay? Let's break that. You need to be wise. You need to be mindful. And even if your body is just, tip-top shape, you can carry something and take it home, take it to a family member, take it to somebody at your job or at your church that may not have the same immune system you have, and it could be devastating for them. So be wise, be smart, be prayerful, be mindful of how you move and how you treat one another. please know that from our heart to yours, YLC TV, we love y'all. We're praying for y'all, and we will see you all next week. Take care. We love you.